It is the SMT Media Network. We are so glad to have you back for this video. In this one, we're going to discuss the legacy of the late, great Kobe Bean Bryant and his position as an all-time great as it compares to, how he was as a Laker. Where is his position there? Where is he as an all-time great as a champion? Was he a sidekick? Was he the driver of the bus? I don't know. There's all these different analogies. Let me explain what Kobe Bryant was, what he did, and how people try to mischaracterize it. There's a lot of chatter and talk right now amongst people talking about how during Kobe's career, there was talk of T-Mac being better and Kobe wasn't the best player on his team in the first run with the Lakers with Shaq. And we're going to fix all of that. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at each of the years Kobe and Shaq played together, the years where they made deep playoff runs, and then what happened after Shaq was shipped out of LA, and what Kobe was able to achieve after Shaq left, and what Shaq was able to achieve when he left LA. All right, so starting first, let's go with 1999. All right, the Lakers were swept in round 2. They were beat by the eventual champion San Antonio Spurs. All right, so there's no shame in that. The Spurs had got Tim Duncan. They had a veteran team with quality players. David Robinson, a league MVP, an All-NBA player, defensive player of the year type of guy. They were built for a championship run. So I'm not knocking the Lakers for not being able to beat an all-time great team. Shaq was very good. Kobe was very good. I think they just played a better team, right? That's the bottom line. In 2000, when the Lakers won their first championship with Kobe and Shaq together as a team, as a tandem, Shaq was otherworldly. This was a clear indication of who the best player in the world was, who the best player on the Lakers was. It wasn't a question. Kobe was good. In fact, in a couple of series on that run, he was very good. But Shaq was clearly an unstoppable force. Like, if you go back and watch, especially like you look at the Western Conference Finals and the finals, it was incredible, right? We're talking peak Shaq. In 2001, Kobe was actually quite great. And he was actually otherworldly, like really good. Like Kobe Bryant had arrived in 2001. Like, he was good in 2000, but he was incredible in 2001. Shaq was great in the finals. I mean, otherwise he was good in all the other series too. But it was pretty clear in 2001 that there was a shift in what the Lakers could be based on Kobe's future, not Shaquille O'Neal. Remember, when the Lakers won the championship in 2000, I think Shaq was 27 and I think Kobe was 21. So when they won it in 2001, when Kobe was like leveling up, he was 21, 22 years old. So they knew that something special was there. In 2002, Kobe was excellent for the entire run. They won that championship in 2002. Shaq was great for half of the run. He was otherwise good. But again, it's kind of like one of those things, like 2001, 2002 kind of had some of that, kind of one or the other to it. Neither player ever really played bad in those years. But maybe it depended on matchup, and those kind of things. And you got to think about it. Like, players like Shaq and Kobe, when they get in certain modes, you just ride that out. You know what I mean? Now, things get interesting in 2003, where the Lakers lost to the Spurs in round 2. And Shaq was outdueled by Tim Duncan. That's not really to be questioned. Right? That's what that boiled down to. In 2004, the run was over. Shaq played pretty good in the Western Conference Finals and the finals, but he was pretty weak in the first 2 series. In fact, in round 1, I think Karl Malone actually played better than Shaq, and Karl Malone was 137 years old. In round 2, Kobe absolutely carried. Shaq was really good defensively. But I say all that to say this. Shaq went to Miami and won a championship with D. Wade a year later. Kobe went through those I call them the dark ages of the Lakers. And then he came out of that a different player. And they acquired Pau Gasol, and they put together some of the most incredible championship runs, 2 of them. They made 3 finals runs. 2 of them resulted in championships. In fact, Kobe's 2009 season is one of the best seasons I've ever seen by any NBA player, by any standard. And the other championship in which they beat the Celtics, Kobe just willing the team to victory against who I believe was one of the best defensive teams I've ever seen. With Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, all those guys, Hall of Fame talent, Paul Pierce. They won a championship. Kobe and Pau Gasol and the supporting cast won a championship against all that Hall of Fame talent in the Boston Celtics, right? Don't forget, Ray Allen ended up winning another championship in Miami. Don't forget about that. So, like, people say that those Celtics were old. Well, they ended up winning a championship. People forget that the Celtics won one? Really? 1 year removed? I say all that to say this. You have people talking about Kobe was being carried by Shaq when they played together. Yeah, for like 2 years. You could say that Shaq was clearly better than Kobe for a couple of those years, like clearly, like leaps and bounds. But things started to change when Kobe was like 21, 22, 23 years old. It was not that clear anymore. It is not accurate to characterize the Lakers only winning because of Shaquille O'Neal. That is false. They won because of Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. Kobe in some of those series was otherworldly, especially later in the run. In the back half of the run, there were series where Shaq was absolutely dominant, and there were series where Kobe Bryant was an unstoppable force. You cannot characterize the Lakers' run with Kobe and Shaq as only being Shaq. Actually, that run was kind of a push. There were a couple years where Shaq was carrying everything and doing it all, and Kobe was just really good. And then there were a couple of years where it was hard to distinguish who was actually better. And then here come these people talking now about how Kobe and T-Mac was an argument. And here people are now trying to put people ahead of Kobe after what he did in his first run in LA and then in the second phase in LA, and they want to talk down his legacy and what he did. This guy has 2 parts of his career in which he was one of the most incredible talents the league has ever seen. There are parts of his career where he was winning the MVP, he was winning championships, multiple parts. And some would say that the second set of championships with the 3 final runs is more impressive because how he did it and what he did to get those chips. And I agree. I think that's valid. But I'm not going to sit here and let people have fake revisionist history about Kobe being Bryant and say things like Shaq carried him for those 3 championships. He did not. Shaq was clearly better than him for a couple of years. Right around 22, about 22 years old, it was clear where this thing was going. And it was Kobe's way. It was on Kobe. Especially when you look at those last 2 championships, the area of space between Kobe and Shaq was starting to close. It wasn't so clear like the first couple of years they were together. That was very clearly Shaq, the superior talent, the superior player. Shaq was otherworldly. But Kobe was ascending, and by the time, in the back half of that first foray in LA for Kobe, that back half, it was clear where things were going. Shaq was shipped out. Kobe was retained. Kobe was so good, and it's all justified when you look at what he was able to accomplish in the next 3 finals trips that he had with the 2 championships, beating some incredible teams, doing some incredible things. I just don't want this to go unnoticed, and I don't want this to go misrepresented, that all these all-time greats are so much better than Kobe. and T-Mac was better than Kobe, and Shaq was carrying Kobe. It's all to the extreme, and it's all wrong. It wasn't that clear for people to say that about Shaq and Kobe, and it's definitely not true. T-Mac was not Kobe Bryant, was never Kobe Bryant. I get it. T-Mac was an incredible offensive talent, but the proof is in the body of work. Kobe is a 5-time champion, and he heavily influenced most of those championships, if not all of those championships on every level. The only thing I'm going to let you get away with is saying that Kobe wasn't really him yet in the first, maybe second championship. By the time they won the third and then took their next 2 trips to the playoffs, it was pretty damn clear what was happening in front of our eyes. And what he did in that second run in the late 2000s, going through 2010, I haven't seen anything like that since.